The second-year students had Quinn completely surrounded. As he took a step forward to try to break out of the encirclement, a wind strike came towards him. He managed to lift his hand to block the attack, but at the same time another slash was felt against his back. 12 of 20 HP. The attacks continued with a mixture of abilities, but most of them were weak elemental abilities, such as level 2 wind users and earth users. However, when he was being attacked from all sides, the attacks quickly added up. Quinn continued to block strikes coming from the front of him, but still was hit from all sides. 11 of 20 HP, 10 of 20 HP, 9 of 20 HP. There was a constant cycle. Once he was injured to a certain degree, Quinn's blood bank would auto-activate and heal him, but even with the blood bank, there was no getting out of this one. But he knew this would happen to some degree. He never expected to win in the first place. Ignoring the pain of the strikes and instead of trying to avoid all the attacks, he rushed forward towards one of the students. This time, 2 hits had hit him from each side, causing 2 big slashes on his body. 8 of 20 HP, 7 of 20 HP. But he didn't care. His speed was quick, and using the strength in his legs, he was able to move himself forward and grabbed one of the second-year students. He quickly went behind the student, grabbing his arm, and at the same time kept one of his claws towards the student's neck, using him as a meat shield. The second-years were hesitant to attack, afraid they might hit their fellow classmates. Quinn continued to walk backwards with the student until his back was up against the wall. "Me and you both know you're not going to hurt him, Quinn," Momo said. "If you attack too deep and kill him, you'll be in trouble. Attack too shallow, and we will pounce on you and make you wish you were dead." Quinn hated to admit it, but Momo was right. He couldn't kill the student, and at the same time, the second he turned his back to them, they would take him out, so Quinn was left with only one thing. He no longer had his claw hand out, but then started to choke the student from behind, wrapping his arm around his neck. He used his strength and carried on until he eventually passed out. 50 EXP gained, 275 of 400 EXP. "No point wasting good EXP, Quinn said. As soon as the student fell to the ground, the attacks came out fast and furious from the others. Quinn was able to block most of them. Now his back was up against the wall. He started dodging a lot of the strikes, which made him think back to the test center. The situation he was in was similar to the agility test, where holographic spikes came at him. However, these attacks were more powerful and were greater in number. Eventually, Quinn let a strike get in. 6 of 20 HP. Suddenly the attacks had stopped, and Momo had stood forward with his whip in his hand. Seeing the whip, Quinn remembered that a single attack last time had brought his HP down by 7 points. If he was to receive another attack from it right now, he would be brought down to below 0. Quinn still didn't know what happened when his HP would reach 0, but at the same time this wasn't the time to find out. He had no choice. He would have to use the blood bank to heal himself. Even if the others did see him use this, it wouldn't reveal he was a vampire, but they would just think it was some type of self-healing ability. The problem was, Quinn had already displayed abnormal strength. If he then displayed abnormal healing, things wouldn't add up. A student couldn't have 2 abilities apart from rare cases, which meant it would only lead to Quinn being asked more questions. Just as Quinn was deciding what to do, Momo sensed something and moved his head at the last second. As he did, a black ball came flying through the air and went past his head. Then the black ball stopped mid-air and suddenly started moving back towards Momo. Momo lashed his whip at the ball, slicing it in half. As he turned around, he saw Vorden standing there. When he looked to see what had happened to the rest of the second years, he could see a few had already been taken down, and those who hadn't been were busy engaging in combat with Layla and Erin. "So you got free, huh?" Momo said. "Do you not remember what happened to you the last time the 2 of us fought?" Momo taunted. "Last time you fought against that weakling, this time you're fighting me," Raten said. "I'm not as nice as Vorden." Raten lifted both hands, and with it, 2 more black balls off the ground lifted up. Vorden swung his hands in the air, and the black balls followed the same path. There was no need for Vorden to use his hands when using his telekinesis ability, but it allowed him to focus his mind better. Doing this moved the balls at greater speed and precision. After all, he wouldn't be able to use it as well as Layla, who had the ability most of her life. The balls flowed a similar pattern to his hands, striking at different directions. However, Momo would simply step forward, move back, or turn his body slightly, avoiding each of the balls. He then grew tired and grabbed one of the balls mid-air that was heading straight for his face. "Looks like you don't remember what happened last time," Momo clenched his fist tightly, destroying the black ball held in his hands. He then swung his whip, destroying the other without even looking where it was. Quinn wanted to help. While Momo's back was turned, he tried to go in for a strike, but before he even took a step, the whip came flying out and landed just in front of him. "Don't even think about it," Momo said. Before Quinn had taken a single step, Momo had already acted. Then Quinn waited once again for the right moment, and when he thought it was right, he tried moving in again, but the same thing had happened. Momo swung at his whip before Quinn had moved. "It can't be," Quinn thought. So far, Momo has not displayed anything revealing his ability, but just now and how he had acted before, it seemed like it was part of his ability. There were two guesses Quinn had. He either had some type of mind-reading ability or future-seeing ability. If that was the case, then the fight ahead would be a tough battle. Quinn's guess about Momo was nearly spot on. Momo could see 2 seconds ahead into the future, although it wasn't as clear as others might think. His ability was activated through his eyes. When he turned on his ability, a new type of vision would appear. Everywhere Momo looked, there was an outline of what a person or object was going to do next. When Momo's back was turned and the black ball had come towards him, he could slightly feel the outline of the ball touching him, allowing him to move his head just in time. Just 2 seconds before Quinn had even begun moving towards Momo, his outline had already shown where and what Quinn was planning to do. It was a strong ability that took years for Momo to get a hang of at first. Just because one could see the future didn't help out in any other aspects. Momo's strength, speed, and reaction time all had to be trained with his ability. Even though Momo's ability was a rare one that was available on the marketplace, not many people opted for it for these reasons. But Quinn wasn't the only one who had figured out Momo's ability. Raten had as well. "Who cares if you know what I'm going to do?" Raten shouted. "All I need to do is do something you can't block." Raten then started running towards him. Momo swung his whip, while Raten held out his hand, slowing the whip down with his telekinesis ability. The whip slowed down enough, allowing him to jump over the strike. Then, with his other hand, something started to form. It looked like water was starting to surround his hand. With another swing, a water blade followed. Momo quickly moved to the side, avoiding one strike, but what quickly followed was a barrage of water strikes. Then, at the same time, from behind, another 2 black balls had been lifted and were coming right at him. Momo could see the black balls coming at him, and he knew he could do nothing but take a hit. He opted to avoid the water strikes, the more powerful of the attacks, and moved so the balls would hit his back. After being hit with the black balls, Momo moved away from Vorden, creating distance between the two. "I have to admit, I didn't expect you to be able to use 2 abilities. You didn't do something like this last time. It looks like you were hiding a trump card after all," Momo said. "But you weren't the only one holding back last time." While in his right hand he held a whip, something started to form in his left hand. At first, it looked just like a bunch of light particles forming something, but then eventually another whip appeared. Only this felt and looked different, as if it was alive almost. Just from holding it alone, the whip would continuously move like a snake. "Let me show you the difference between the second years and first years," Momo said. Even though Erin was currently busy fighting the other second-year students, she couldn't help but sense the power in the room. "So he has one after all, huh? A soul weapon." While the distance between Momo and the others were far away, Layla had managed to make a break and get away from the other second-year students. Honestly, Erin was doing fine dealing with them on her own, and she wasn't much help in the first place. She quickly went to Quinn's side and could see he was badly injured. It wasn't so much that he couldn't move, but enough to say he was out of the fight for now at least. "Do you need some blood?" Layla whispered. "No, I'm fine. I'm not in any danger. Don't worry about that. I just don't want to reveal anything in front of all these people." "I understand," Layla said as she then looked at Vorden. "Your friend. I hate to admit it, but he's strong." "Yeah." After looking at Vorden now and seeing how he fought so skillfully, as if he had done it 100 times before, and he was even using 2 abilities effortlessly, Quinn quickly realized there wasn't much he knew about Vorden, and that he probably had his very own secrets that he was hiding from everyone, similar to himself. But again, instead of escaping when he was freed and running away, he had decided to come help. Although Quinn wasn't strong enough to help now, in the future he would repay back this kindness. Now with Momo's soul weapon, the confidence in him grew. He swung his soul whip, and it started to move at lightning speed. In response, Raten created a wall of water with one hand and started to slow down the whip with the other, but the telekinesis ability was useless and didn't seem to do anything to slow the whip down. Then, when the whip had reached the wall of water, it suddenly grew in length and had wrapped around Raten's arm. Momo pulled forward, dragging Raten to the ground, and then swung out his other whip, lashing against his back. Raten tried rolling to avoid the lashes, but it seemed like the whip was following him, predicting where he would roll next. Raten had been lashed several times, and now his back was covered in blood. Then, with Raten's other hand, he formed a small water blade. He knew that the whip would be too strong to cut, so instead he went for his own hand, complexly cutting it off from his own body. The whip was no longer attached to his body, and at the same time so was his hand. Although, unlike one would expect for blood to be drawn everywhere, Raten was using an absurd amount of energy, concentrating to stop his blood from spewing out from the wound with the telekinesis ability, and he honestly didn't know how much longer he could keep it up. "Damn you!" Raten shouted. "If only this body wasn't so hurt from before. Now you have gone and done it. You think a soul weapon is strong enough to defeat us? Well, think again. Little one, it's your turn. It's time to give this man hell." Just then, though, the doors to the assembly hall were swung wide open, and in came a tall, silver-haired female, and standing behind her was Peter. "I command everyone to halt this instant," she said. "If anyone does not obey this command, prepare to be punished."
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.